My name is Edward Lawson, and I was 62 years old when I learned that the greatest betrayal isn't committed by strangers. It's committed by the people already living under your roof. For 35 years, I worked as a probate and estate attorney in Savannah, Georgia. I spent my career helping families divide fortunes, protect businesses, and settle complicated inheritances. I believed I understood greed. I didn't. Not until the day I overheard my own wife planning her future before she thought mine had ended. I lived in a waterfront home overlooking the Wilmington River, a house I'd purchased outright after selling my law practice. Behind the house sat a restored 28-foot fishing boat that had been my retirement project for nearly 5 years. I loved that boat almost as much as I loved the quiet mornings spent drinking coffee on the dock. My wife, Vanessa, was 55. We had been married for 10 years. She was intelligent, charming, and remarkably good at making everyone feel welcome. She also had a son from her previous marriage. His name was Brandon. When I first met him, he was 18 and respectful. He helped around the house without being asked. He called me sir. For several years, I genuinely believed we were becoming a family. Then the business failures began. First came an online clothing company that lost nearly $18,000. Then a landscaping business that survived less than 8 months. After that came cryptocurrency investments. By the time Brandon turned 28, he owed banks, friends, and private lenders almost $40,000. Each failure came with another explanation, another promise, another request for help. Vanessa always defended him. He's just trying to build something. He'll figure it out. He only needs one good opportunity. At first, I believed her. Eventually, I noticed something changing. Money disappeared from our joint account. Small transfers. £900 one week. $2,400 the next. Whenever I asked, Vanessa already had an answer. It's temporary. I forgot to mention it. I was going to tell you. As an attorney, I had spent decades spotting warning signs. As a husband, I ignored every single one. 8 months before everything collapsed, Vanessa casually asked whether my estate plan was still the simple version. I smiled. It hasn't changed. She seemed relieved. Looking back, that should have frightened me. A few weeks later, I overheard Brandon asking my accountant and oldest friend, Michael Carter, whether trusts could be changed quickly if someone's health declined. Michael later mentioned the conversation. I dismissed it. I wanted peace more than truth. Sometimes those two things cannot exist together. The moment that changed everything happened during a family barbecue. Vanessa's sister, Linda, had come over for dinner. We were eating outside when Brandon laughed and said, "I've already picked where I'll park Dad's boat once it's mine." Vanessa smiled. And the kitchen definitely needs renovating after everything's settled. Linda looked horrified. She glanced at me before quickly looking down at her plate. Nobody corrected them. Nobody apologized. Vanessa simply continued eating as if discussing my belongings after my death was perfectly normal. That evening, while washing dishes, she even hummed happily. That was the moment I stopped giving people the benefit of the doubt. For days later, I suffered a heart attack. It wasn't massive, but it was serious enough to require emergency surgery. Late that night, while I lay half-conscious in recovery, an exhausted junior doctor spoke quietly to Vanessa outside my room. He mentioned that the next week would be critical. Unfortunately, he also carelessly said, "We'll know more within 5 days." He never said I had 5 days to live. But Vanessa clearly heard exactly what she wanted. A few minutes later she entered my room. She squeezed my hand, smiled, then whispered words no husband should ever hear. If this is really the end, at least we won't have to worry about money anymore. Brandon stood beside her. I call the boat. Neither of them realized I was awake. I kept my eyes closed and listened. The following morning, after everyone left, I called Michael. I need the black folder from my office. He arrived an hour later. Inside that folder sat something neither Vanessa nor Brandon knew existed. 3 years earlier, after seeing too many inheritance disputes destroy families, I had quietly transferred nearly every significant asset into an irrevocable family trust. The house, the boat, investment accounts, rental properties, everything. The trust named Michael, not Vanessa, as successor trustee. At the time, I had called it sensible planning. Now, it looked like instinct. Still, I wanted certainty. I contacted Rachel Simmons, the solicitor who had drafted every document. I want everything reviewed, I told her. Assume someone will challenge every signature. She did exactly that. Every page held, every witness statement, every notarized signature. Most importantly, Vanessa had signed a legal declaration acknowledging she had been offered independent legal advice and had declined it. Rachel had insisted on adding that page. At the time I thought she was being overly cautious. Now it became the strongest page in the entire file. Within 2 weeks my cardiologist confirmed something remarkable. The surgery had been completely successful. I wasn't dying. The doctor's original comment had simply been misunderstood. I decided not to rush home announcing the good news. Instead, I finished preparing everything. One Thursday afternoon, Vanessa invited Brandon over to discuss the future. She assumed we would begin talking about inheritance. Instead, Rachel sat waiting at the dining table. Several organized folders rested neatly beside her. Vanessa looked confused. Rachel smiled professionally. I believe we should clarify ownership before assumptions become misunderstandings. She handed Vanessa the trust documents. Vanessa's expression slowly changed. Confusion, disbelief, panic. No, she whispered. This can't be right. Rachel calmly pointed toward the signature pages. There is your signature. There is your acknowledgement. There is the notarization. Brandon interrupted. He promised me the boat. Rachel looked at him. Do you have that promise in writing? Silence. I finally spoke. Only once. I heard every word you both said in the hospital. The room became perfectly still. No shouting followed. No dramatic accusations. There wasn't any need. Truth had already done all the work. Vanessa hired a solicitor. She challenged the trust. 3 months later, she lost. Every argument failed. The court ruled that the documents had been properly executed years before my heart attack and long before any question about my health could exist. Our divorce became final 6 months later. Brandon sent me several messages asking for financial help. I wished him well, but I sent nothing. His debts belonged to him, not to me. A few months later, I walked down to the marina carrying the boat's title. Waiting beside the dock was Ethan, my neighbor's grandson. For 3 summers he had helped me restore that old fishing boat. He never asked for payment. He simply loved the work. I placed the title in his hands. You earned her. The young man stared at the papers, then quietly wiped away tears. Watching his reaction gave me more happiness than selling the boat ever could. Today I still live in the same riverside house. Every Tuesday, Michael comes over carrying homemade stew that he insists is award-winning. It isn't. We argue about that every week. He never changes his opinion. Neither do I. My daughter Grace, from my first marriage, visits every Sunday with my 2 grandchildren. The house is louder now. Warmer. Filled with people who never ask what they'll inherit. Only whether I've remembered to take my medication. Losing a marriage hurt. Discovering betrayal hurt even more. But it also taught me something decades of practicing law never truly could. The people who deserve your legacy are rarely the ones waiting impatiently for it. They're the ones who never expected anything except the privilege of having you still here.